Good morning to you all. Once again, we are back with the next theory of inflation. So far we got three causes of inflation. One is money supply, second one is demand for money, and third one is increase in aggregate demand. Now let us see what is said by the monetarist about inflation. So this is known as monetarist view of inflation. Monetarist view of inflation. So as you know, monetarist view of inflation is the leader of the monetarist group is Milton Friedman, as you already know. So the modern monetarist view is modified version of classical quantity theory of money. So again what you see here, the modern monetarist view is modified version of the classical quantity theory of money. You have already learned that. What is classical quantity theory of money? MB is equal to PT. So what causes inflation is money supply, right? Now modern monetarism is therefore, because it is based on classical modified version of the classical quantity theory of money, it is known as modern Fisherianism. So the modern monetarism is therefore sometimes called as modern Fisherianism. Okay. Now, modern monetarists hold that. Now, what is their view of inflation? What does it mean? According to them, what are the reasons for inflation? So, you can read there. Modern monetarists hold that general level of price rises only due to increase in money supply. What is that? General level of price rises only due to increase in money supply. So this is the same argument said by the classical economists, remember? So only money supply is the only cause of inflation according to the modern monetarist also. Now, Friedman is the leader of this group, monetarist group. So he says, according to Milton Friedman, inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. So he says that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon, which means it can be caused only by money supply. Monetary phenomenon means that something related to money. And it can be produced only by more rapid increase in the quantity of money than output. So when the output than output. So when money income increases more rapidly than increase in output. You remember the classical view also is like that. You remember too much definition of inflation, too much money, classical definition, too much money chasing too few goods. Goods are few but money is more. Same argument here. So it can be produced only by a more rapid increase in the quantity of money. Then quantity of money means money supply than in the output. To this extent, the monetarists subscribe to the classical quantity theory of money. So, when classical economists explain that money inflation is caused only by a more rapid increase in money supply or quantity of money than in the real output. So, it has got a similarity with the classical version of inflation. However, the classical modern monetarist view of inflation is in some points they disagree with the classical economists. Which are those aspects? Some aspects they disagree with the classical economist. Okay, so that means the monetarists make following deviations from modification to classical quantity theory of money. So they have made some deviations and they have also put forward certain or made certain modification to the classical quantity theory of money, which is that the first case is they do not subscribe to the classical view that is a proportional that there is that they do not subscribe to the classical view that there is, you remember, there is, classical theory says that there is a proportional relationship between money supply and price level. You remember? So here they do not subscribe to the classical view that there is a proportional relationship between stock of money and the price level. Then, okay. Secondly, monetarists do not agree with the classical proposition that supply curve is vertical in the short run. So they do not also agree that supply curve is vertical in the short run. Supply curve is vertical in the short run. What does it mean? Supply curve is vertical in the short run means the short run. Okay. Supply curve is vertical means what? Supply curve is vertical means the full employment level of output. Aggregate supply is at the level of full employment, vertical. Parallel to y-axis, vertical. But they say that in the long run it may be vertical, but in the short run supply curve is not vertical as it is a classical proposition says. So monetarists such as Friedman argue that a reduction in money stock does in practice reduce the level of output. So he says that, Milton Friedman says that whenever there is a reduction in money stock means supply of money, in practice first reduce the level of output. So whenever money supply reduces, the level of output also is reduced, and only later have an effect on prices. So first effect is that whenever there is a reduction in the money supply, it will first reduce the level of output, and later have an effect on the prices. Okay. Now third point is that unlike the classical economists, modern monetarists distinguish between short run and long run effects of the changes in the stock of money. So you know that classical economy stresses only on the long run. They don't have short run. So here the monetarist economists deviations, the modification is that they are distinguished between the short run and long run effects of the change in the stock of money or money supply. So what is that? They argue that in the short run, changes in the stock of money can and do have important effect on the real output. What is that? In the short run, changes in the money stock can and do have important effect on the real output. Real output means income, output, employment, etc. Real output means increase in output, employment also increase, or real variables, but not in the long run. So in their opinion, change in money stock remains neutral to, but in the long run, in their opinion, change in money stock remains neutral to the real output. Now you see, monetarists do agree that in the long run, money supply role of money is neutrality of money in the long run. That is exactly as it is said by the classical economists. They also say the same thing. But then they say, the monetarists say that, but in the short run, you cannot assume neutrality of money, which means in the short run, when money supply increases, output may increase, or money supply decreases, output may decrease. So they argue that in the long run, money is more or less neutral. Who is arguing? The monetarists arguing in the long run, neutrality of money is assumed, or that is what is happening. Whereas in the short run, there is no such kind of argument of neutrality of money. But in the short run, increase or decrease in money supply in fact affect the real output. Okay, that's the modification they have made. So changes in the money stock after they have worked the way through the economy have no real effect and only changes price, especially when there is in the long run, in the long way. See, worked through way, changes in money stock after they have worked the way through the economy have no real effects and only change prices. Real effects means do not influence the output or employment in the long run, but it only changes the prices. Prices means the price level. So in the long run, money's role is neutral, as it is similar to the classical economist view. That is why it is known as modern Fisherianism, right? But then they have made the distinction between, or they distinguished between the long run and short run effects of this money supply. Long run effect, in the long run, money supply's role of money is neutral, whereas in the short run, money supply increases, price level also increases, or output, sorry, not price level, output also increases. Money supply falls, output also falls. But in the long run, because there is full employment, it cannot increase the real output. So actually, it will not have any real effect, but only changes the price. Okay, students, I think it is clear to you what is the monetarist view of inflation. I think if possible, you can just refer Ahuja, where there is a diagram is given of this particular deviations or modifications made by the modern monetarist, especially Milton Friedman. Okay, so wish you good luck. So the next theory which we are going to learn is the modern theory of inflation. Okay.